Let's now look at the last task in the 2025 Higher Admin and IT assignment. Now this is a database task. I know it's a database task just from looking at the question because second paragraph it talks about preparing and printing a report. Now I do appreciate that could be a word task, but the last sentence says group the report by dealership name. So we're going to do a query. We're actually going to do a calculation in a query first. And the reason I know there's going to be a calculation is I can see it's talking about receiving a 30% increase. Where you see some kind of percentage, some kind of calculation, it'll be a query with a calculation and we turn that into a report. Then once we're in the report, we then have to group it and finish it off by adding a suitable title and logo. So let's now open up the database and see which tables we need. So we're in the database called cars and I've brought up the task, and once again I've named it task 5 just for the purpose of this video. So which tables do we need? Well, let's create our query first of all. We definitely need our staff because we're looking for car sales staff. We do need that one. I'll just stretch that down. But I do see from the second part of the question there, prepare and print a report showing names, email addresses and so on. Also include the new salary, which we have to calculate, and also the dealership they currently work in. Well, you'll see there from the staff table we have the dealership ID, but not the actual name of the dealership. So I'm also going to bring up the dealership table, and that will sort out that problem because the dealership name is there. I'll just close down that Add Tables pane, and now we've got to think about what are we bringing down for the query. Well, one suggestion I have for you is if you look at how they want the report to be prepared and printed, I would actually start there first. They say they want to show the suitable employee names and email addresses. So I'm going to bring down the title, first name, surname, and their email address. Right, so that's what's going to be in the report. So that's why I'm bringing that down just now. And then it goes on to talk about to also include the new salary and the dealership. Well, I'll bring the dealership down also at this stage. Doesn't really matter which order we bring it down at. When we do the report, we can bring the fields across in the order that we need them. And it does actually say group the report by dealership name, so we do need that field brought down. And it's saying here we're looking to recruit an assistant manager, sales manager. This position is open to all our car sales staff. So we have to find only those people who are eligible to apply for this job. So we are actually going to need to bring down the job title. When we look at all the job titles, it's quite interesting because they're looking for, they're saying the position is open to all car sales staff. When you look at job title, they're not called car sales staff, they're called car salesperson. And a wee tip there, if maybe you wanted to make sure that you've got the right wording, I'm just going to copy that actually, just have that saved away so I know it's the car salesperson. That is what I'm doing for my query. So back down into design and the job title, it is there, it's car salesperson, only these people we're looking for, and let's just run that and have a look. So here we have all the people eligible to apply for the job, and we also need to know what their salary is going to be. So let's go back into our design and let's pull the salary. You don't have to run it. I always just like to make sure I've got everything that I need. And what the question's saying is the successful candidate will receive a 30% increase on their current salary. So we need to work out what would a salary look like with a 30% increase, and that's where the calculated field comes in. So switching back to our design, and we're going to have to create a new field heading. I will use the zoom again to make it easier for you to see. So when we're doing a calculated field, we need to give the field name a name. So we're going to call this new salary. All right. We need to put in a colon, and we need to use, well, we're going to be basing the new salary on the existing salary, and the field there is called salary. So inside a square bracket, I'm typing in exactly what I'm seeing down below. It's the field name is called salary, and I'm going to close the square bracket. Alright, so it's referring to the field salary, and how do we work out what is 30% on top of that? I can just do multiplied by, if I do 1.3, that gives me the current salary, and then 0.3 on top of that will give me the new salary. Click on OK, and I'm just going to run that, and let's see what we see. Now there we have got the new salary. It's not formatted properly, so we need to go back and we need to sort that. So back to design, and clicking on that new salary, we have there the property sheet up there on the ribbon, and we're saying there we want the salary to have 2 decimal places, so we're going to format it as currency, and just to double check, under decimal places we're going to set that to 2. Let's run that and see what we've got, and now we have it formatted properly. So that is all the information that we need. We don't necessarily need to show that in the report, but we have now done the calculated field, so we have that. So now what we can do is we can save the query, suitable employees, or just something that you know what to use for your report, and let's just click on OK. So now we're ready to create our report, so we can go into the report wizard, and we are in actually the query we need. If you don't find it, remember the drop down has all the tables and queries that you have in your database. So we're keeping it there as suitable employees. We know from the report that they want to see the name of the employee, so title, first name, last name, and their email. Also looking for the new salary, not the existing one, but the one you've just calculated, that needs to go in, and the dealership that they work in needs to go in. So have all the information there. We don't need job title, we don't need existing salary. Click on next, and then let's move on to how do you want to view your data. That's fine. Click on next. Do you want any grouping levels? Well, yes, we do. We want it grouped by dealership name. So we're going to click on dealership name and then the wee arrow, and that is how it's going to show on the report. Click on next. It doesn't actually ask for us to show names, alphabetically, but if you did, that's where you would go. Find the field ascending or descending. If you were asked to do some kind of totaling, that's where the summary options would come in. But as it happens, we're not asked to do any sorting or summary options, so click on next. How do you want the report to look? Well, yeah, that's fine. Probably landscape, maybe just turn it into landscape, and that saves you any bother later on. And then click on next. What do you want for your report? Well, part of the question is insert a suitable title, so we'll type in here suitable employees for assistant sales manager job. That's the actual title in the SQ mark scheme. That's what they use for the title, and then we're going to click on finish. So hopefully, just expand that. That is going to bring the information that we need, which it has. There's not actually very much tidying up we need to do. In fact, any at all. If you do have to maybe tidy up a few bits and pieces, I'll close the print preview, I'll close the property sheet. That's in the design of it, and yes, you can sort of move and expand and retract different text boxes there. You might find it easier to click in the layout view because everything is there. So say for example, I think the salaries maybe pushed just a wee bit to the right hand side, I'll have to move it across. Well, if I move the email across, I can just sort of move that along a little bit, and same with the actual email addresses. All right, and sort of tidy it up that way, and then perhaps I could bring the salary, just sort of move the yellow box there like that, just to pull it maybe off off the side of the page. So perhaps it's easier going in that way, but right now that is actually, oh, what I do see, I see their dealership name. I can't quite see the word name, so I might even just stretch that just a tiny bit so we can see it, just to make it look completely readable before you print it off. So the last thing we need to do is to insert the logo. So I'm going to go into View and then Design View, and I'm going to put the logo in Report Header. If you need more space for Report Header, you know, you can always just stretch it down to make more space for the logo. And I'm going to get the logo by going into Insert Image. Click on that. There it is. If it's not there, you'd have to go to Browse to find it, but the image is there. And what I like about the insert image is I can manually sort of drag it into place. Let's have a look, and that looks fine. And that is how to do the last task in the assignment.